Can you state your name for me?
Kenneth Earring,
And your age?
almost 70.
And your relationship to me?
You're my granddaughter.
Okay. Were you married or are you married? And do you have a family?
Yes, I am still married. Family was Teresa and Sandra, daughters.
Awesome. Where and when were you born?
I was born in Santa Maria, California. Let's see, October 21st of 1946.
Are you the first generation to be born in the U.S.?
No, I am not.
Do you know who was?
I have seen some of my family tree, but no one really knows exactly who they were or where they came from. They were Europeans, perhaps German and Welsh.
Okay. Can you remember August 6th and 9th, 1945, when America dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan?
Well, I was not born yet, but those dates do have quite a bit of significance for me because my father was a prisoner of war of the Japanese, and from what he's told me, I would not be around if those bombs had not been dropped on Japan, because he would have not lived.
Wow.
He was actually about a month before the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. The Japanese had him working in some sort of manufacturing plant in Hiroshima.
Wow. How do you think the U.S. changed following this event?
World War II, you're saying? I think it was a time when America kind of converted into more of a manufacturing and farming nation. Definitely the most powerful nation in the world at that time, just because of the war. Everyone pulled together, and the manufacturing potential of the United States increased many fold. Let's say I wasn't really around then, so I don't really know.
All right. What do you remember about November 22nd, 1963, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated?
When I found out about it, I was sitting in English class, and the teacher, I was at Roy Grande High, by the way.
Really?
And an English teacher, I believe her name was Mrs. Campbell, very caring person. She came in very sad-faced and down and made the announcement to the whole class. And I don't really recall ever getting too much done in that English class or for the rest of the day in school. I think most of the nation was kind of shocked that it did happen. I believe I was a junior in high school at the time, but that's about all I really remember.
Many people say that hope in America died a little that day. Do you agree? And how did America change?
I don't think hope died. I don't know what hope for what. Needless to say, it was the first time a president had been killed. Well, I was alive. I know it's happened several times before. Lincoln, McKinley, whatnot. But what was the other question there?
How did America change when he was assassinated?
I think it just made people a little more aware of what was going on. More safeguards were put in place so that it might not happen again in the future. It's pretty hard to protect someone if somebody wants to shoot at them.
How about the Vietnam War? Do you remember, or you think America had lost trust in the federal government at the end of the war?
No, I don't. No, trust in the federal government. I don't think that happened just because of the Vietnam War. People were disappointed because we were in a war that had really not too much to do with the United States. I mean, it was on the other side of the globe. And there were not too many effects that were felt by the American public, I believe. People were just trying to go out and make a living and survive.
Do you think?
At least that was me.
Do you think the feeling of disappointment was ever like bounced back?
No, I almost went to Vietnam in the service, but I didn't.
Okay.
But no, I have no comment on that.
How do you think the world's perception of the United States changed on July 20th, 1969, when we first put men on the moon?
It was very exciting that when the space program was going as fast as it was. I remember getting up early in the morning to watch the launches. As far as things changing, that was about the first time the media really had started the media blitz. That's what was on TV at the time. Today it's escalated probably 1,000-fold from what it was then, but everybody would seem to be interested in these. I realize that there's people who don't believe that man was on the moon, but I believe it.
How do you think the world looked at the U.S. following Nixon's resignation on August 8th, 1974, in response to the Watergate scandal?
Well, poor old Tricky Dick, he... I could have used some other phraseology, but I'll stick with that one. He was a president. Well, he's probably no different than most presidents we have, but he got caught. So it's a big deal with when you get caught. I guess he just should have been a little more forthcoming and covered his butt a little more, really.
Okay. In what way do you think our nation changed on November 9th, 1989, when the Berlin Wall came down, effectively ending the Cold War?
Well, I don't think it had too much bearing on anyone in the United States. It sure didn't mean too much to me, but I know it had meant a lot to the people who were actually living in Berlin. Now they could freely cross back and forth where they couldn't before without risking life and limb by trying to hop the wall. I'm sure there are ways of doing that, but it had no effect on me. I don't think I ever really thought about it.
What do you remember about September 11th, 2001, when the country experienced the terrorist attacks on the Pentagon and the World Trade Center?
Well, I was out trying to make a living at that time. I was at work, and one of my people came in and said that the Twin Towers had an airplane run into it, and I was kind of surprised. I thought maybe it was, are you sure? When I got home off of work, I saw some of the footage on television, what was going on. I was kind of surprised that someone could pull off a stunt like that at the Pentagon at the same time. I'm kind of surprised at that. I still am. But it can happen, and it did. It didn't really affect me. I was just trying to earn a living, subsist.
All right, last question. Finally, it is said every American citizen has a dream, be it wealth, happiness, a better life for their children, etc. What was your dream if you had one, and do you think you ever achieved it?
Well, I guess my dream was to get a house, get it paid off. They say the American dream is to own a house. To me, it's not. You don't own it until you pay it off. I achieved that, and I believe I've set aside a little bit of money so I can retire without too many problems for me and my spouse.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.